Alan's parents picked a dangerous time to go out of town. They were only supposed to be gone for a couple of weeks. Some anniversary trip up the coast. But to a couple of bored young people, 2 weeks sounded like an entire lifetime. Freedom with a front door and a fridge full of food. The moment their car disappeared down the street, Alan looked at his older brother Rob and said the words that changed everything. "We should have a Halloween party." It was already mid-October, the air just starting to cool at night, the kind of weather that made you feel like something fun was about to happen. I was sitting on the couch, pretending not to listen, but my ears perked up immediately. Alan grinned at me like he had just announced a world tour. "You're invited, obviously," he said, which was a little funny considering we all lived in the backyard. "Obviously," I answered, trying to sound cooler than I felt. Planning started that same day. Rob made a handwritten flyer with a cartoon ghost that looked more like a melted marshmallow. Alan called everyone he knew. I helped clean the living room, which mostly meant shoving piles of magazines into closets and lighting a candle that smelled like apples and cinnamon. Then I hung orange and black balloons everywhere and blinking orange lights. By the time Halloween weekend rolled around, the house looked almost respectable, if you didn't open any drawers. The night of the party, I emerged from the trailer dressed as a very unconvincing pirate. I'd borrowed a striped shirt from Tess and drawn eyeliner on as a mustache that kept smudging every time I laughed. Alan answered the door wearing a vampire cape over a t-shirt that said Surf California. Rob was a zombie football player, which mostly meant an old thrift store jersey with some ketchup on it. The place was already buzzing. The lights in the living room were glowing softly orange. Music was blaring from speakers that looked way too small to be making that much noise. The kitchen table had turned into a buffet of beer, chips, cookies, and a mysterious punch that no one trusted, but everyone drank anyway. Costume people kept pouring in. People in sheets as ghosts, witches, cowboys. A guy wrapped entirely in aluminum foil claiming to be from the future. One guy, he came dressed as a farmer with a sheep attached to his front. One guy kept running around with his fingers sticking out of his open pants zipper. Every time the doorbell rang, Alan would yell, "Come in! We're rich and irresponsible!" It felt like one of those movie parties I had only ever seen on TV. I kept expecting a director to pop out and yell, "Cut!" I spent most of the night floating from room to room, holding a red plastic cup like it was a passport. That was my MO. I really hated the taste of alcohol, still do if I'm honest. So I would fake it through the night. Anytime someone would ask if I needed a drink, I would laugh, lift my cup, and reply, "Just got one." The house smelled like popcorn, perfume, and that sweet, skunky cloud that seemed to follow certain people around. Laughter bounced off the walls. Someone had started a dance contest in the hallway that turned into a conga line for about 30 seconds before collapsing into chaos. At one point, I found Alan on the back porch, handing out glow sticks like he was the mayor of Funtown. "You having a good time?" he asked. I nodded. I feel like I'm in someone else's life. "Good," he said. "That's the goal." Rob was in the kitchen attempting to cook spaghetti for reasons no one understood. He claimed it was party fuel. Noodles kept escaping the pot like they were trying to flee the country. A group of girls in cat ears were cheering him on as if he were performing a miracle instead of boiling pasta. "Chef Rob!" they chanted. "Five-star establishment!" he yelled back, flinging a piece of spaghetti at the wall. The hours blurred together in that warm, glowing way only teenage parties can. I remember sitting on the living room floor talking to a girl dressed as a jellyfish about whether dogs have favorite colors. I remember Alan trying to teach everyone the Thriller dance and getting stuck halfway through. I remember Rob sliding across the kitchen in his socks like he was auditioning for a musical no one had written. Nothing terrible happened. Nothing dramatic. Just a house full of people feeling older than they really were. Around 2 a.m, the crowd started to thin. The music got turned down. People drifted out into the night with promises to call each other that they probably wouldn't keep. By 3, it was just me, Alan, Rob, and Rob's girlfriend in a living room that looked like a carnival had exploded. We decided cleanup was a problem for future us. Future us would regret that deeply. Morning arrived bright and judgmental. Sunlight sliced through the blinds and revealed the true crime scene. Cups everywhere, chips ground into the carpet. A smell that was something like burnt sugar. Rob emerged from his bedroom looking like he'd fought a bear and lost. "Did we have a party?" he croaked, "or survive a natural disaster?" Alan squinted at the trashed kitchen. "Both." We started picking up the mess in slow motion, fueled by cold pizza and Coke. I was scraping something unidentifiable off the coffee table when the phone rang. Rob answered. His face went pale in a way I didn't know faces could. "Hey, Mom," he said, long pause. Today? Like, right now today?" Alan froze with a trash bag in his hands. I felt my stomach drop to the basement. Rob covered the receiver. "They're home early," he whispered. "Like leaving the airport now early." The 3 of us stared at each other like we'd just been told the house was sinking. What followed was the fastest cleanup operation in human history. "Everything into my room," Rob shouted. We began scooping evidence like lunatics. Trash bags, stray shoes, empty bottles, a rubber chicken I didn't remember seeing before. All of it got shoved down the hallway. Rob's bedroom became a black hole of bad decisions. Alan vacuumed in frantic zigzags while I wiped counters with a towel that was definitely not meant for cleaning. Rob's girlfriend sprayed so much air freshener the house smelled like a pine forest having an identity crisis. 10 minutes, Rob yelled from the window. "Look out." I was in the kitchen scrubbing a mysterious sticky ring off the table when I noticed it. A single strand of spaghetti stuck to the wall. It hung there like modern art, dry, slightly curved, absolutely incriminating. Guys?" I called. Alan came over, breathing hard. "What?" I pointed at a spot high up on the wall. He stared at it in horror. How did that even get there? Flashback images of Chef Rob and his enthusiastic audience flickered in my brain. The spaghetti had clearly gone airborne at some point in the festivities. "We don't have time for questions," Rob said, rushing in. "Just get it off." I was too short to reach it. Rob tried to peel it off, but it had fused to the paint like it had signed a lease. Alan grabbed a sponge. Rob grabbed a butter knife. They attacked that noodle like a bomb squad. 5 minutes, Rob yelled again, even though he was standing right next to us. The doorbell rang. We all froze. "Maybe it's not them," I whispered. The knob rattled. "It's them," Alan said. Panic hit a new level. Rob flung his bedroom door shut on the mountain of trash. Alan smoothed his hair that he hadn't bothered to brush when he woke up. I stood there holding a half-destroyed spaghetti strand like a criminal with evidence. The door opened. Alan's parents walked in, smiling, tan, relaxed, completely unaware they'd entered a sitcom episode. "Surprise!" his mom said. "We got an earlier flight." "Great!" Alan squeaked in a voice I'd never heard before. His dad looked around. "House looks clean." "Yep," Rob said too quickly. "We've just been, living responsibly." I slid the spaghetti into my pocket like a secret weapon. For the next hour, we performed the greatest acting of our lives. We carried suitcases, we asked polite questions about the trip, we nodded at stories about seafood restaurants while mentally guarding the hallway like Secret Service agents protecting national security. At one point, Alan's mom said, "It smells very piney in here." "Seasonal," I blurted. She smiled. "I like it." Rob's bedroom door bulged slightly but held strong. Eventually, his parents went upstairs to unpack, and the three of us collapsed onto the couch in silent relief. "We did it," Alan whispered. "We survived," Rob said. I pulled the spaghetti out of my pocket and set it on the coffee table like a trophy. "The real hero," I said. Later that afternoon, while the parents slept, we finished the real cleanup, this time without the pressure of approaching headlights. Bags were hauled out, windows open, carpets vacuumed until they looked shocked. By evening, the house was back to normal, almost like the party had been a dream. But it didn't feel like a dream to me. It felt like one of those nights you carry around forever, a little glowing marble in your memory. The music, the costumes, the ridiculous joy of being young and unsupervised. Even the panic the next morning had a kind of sweetness to it. As we walked back to the trailer, Alan said, "Thanks for helping." "Any time," I told him. "But next party, no spaghetti." He laughed. "Deal." As we walked through the cool October air, I felt older, braver, and part of something messy and wonderful. Some houses hold secrets. Some hold ghosts. That house on 2nd Street would always hold Halloween. And somewhere, I like to imagine, a single noodle still dreams of freedom.